welcome to another episode. Today we are going to be talking about brute forcing into websites. Again, this is an educational video. I do not claim any responsibility for malicious use of this information. Please only use this information in proper settings. So let's dive into the problem here. So we are given an IP address of a website up here at the top here. So going to that IP address, you just get pretty standard web server, just seeing all the files, different HTML files. If we go into this subdirectory here and actually go to the website, you can see just standard website. So the first step to brute forcing is figuring out a user base. So what do usernames look like? So if we go down to people here, brings us a list of people that apparently work at this fictional company. Clicking on Paul Smith here, just general bio, his name, and oh, what's this? An email address. So what do you think the chances are that that is his username? I'm going to take a really hard shot in the dark and say probably. Good chance. So let's record that. So, oh, let's not do that. Let's do this. So, I just grabbed all of the users from before, or grabbed the names of these 4 people that apparently work at this company, and we're going to start with that for our user base. So, now that we have a user base, we need to come up with a way of making a dictionary for to test passwords with. Obviously you can go and download dictionaries from online, but that's no fun, so let's make our own. So I'm going to come back to this terminal, get out of here, clean this up a little bit. Alright, and might as well just get rid of this guy. We'll make it again in a minute here. Alright, and we'll clear this out. So, we're going to use this directory of files as our basis for our dictionary. So to do that, we gotta first grab all the content from this website. So, to do that, we are going to use the wget -r and then go too deep, just because if you look at the website, if you actually were to go through this, it would be, there's 2 levels to it. Technically you can go as deep as you want. wget's pretty intelligent with it. 5.153. So there we go. So now, result of that command, as you can see, we now have the directory of the website. So if we change into that directory, as you can see, all the files from online are there. So we can go ahead and get rid of this guy. Now, unfortunately, this file structure doesn't really do much for us. So we need to actually make it usable. So let's go back up one. So to do that, we're going to use grep. So going to grep everything from that file as from that directory. So as you can see, this is now everything from the directory, but obviously that's not helping us. So we are then going to, once we get all the information, truncate it by replacing replacing every space in the file with a new line. So that is going to make it every word on its own, or separate every word in the file. So again, we're going to make it a little easier to read, so we're going to sort it again, and then going to take only the unique values, because there's no point in testing the word you 10 times, or however many times it is right there. So there we go. We have a unique list of words that we can use as a basis for our dictionary. So we are then going to pipe that into our website.text file. So we now have, if we clear out the screen and we look at the website.text file, we have a dictionary to use to test for passwords. In practice, in theory, you can go through and get rid of lines, like stuff like this, these lines here. You don't really need to keep them in the dictionary. I'm just going to be lazy and leave them in there. If you're testing for a lot of users, it makes sense to get rid of them just to speed it up. Because say you're testing for 50 users and you leave these 10 lines in, 50 times 10, it's an extra 500 tries that are not going to work. So, but because we're only using 4 users here, we're going to be kind of lazy. So then we are now going to go into Hydra, which is what we're actually going to use to brute force. So, just typing in the Hydra command will bring up its man page, so we can look here. The main flags we're going to use are the -L, the -P, and your target server, and then the service that we're going to test on. So we're going to backtrack here a quick sec. We got to figure out what services this server is running. So to do that, simple nmap command. So we know after this runs that we can brute force on HTTP, Telnet, SSH, and FTP. So it's accepting traffic on all 4 of those ports. Just for easy use, we're just going to focus on SSH for this. It really doesn't matter which one you pick. I just like SSH because it's one I'm most familiar with. Alright, so back to Hydra. So to actually start brute forcing, we are going to go with, start by typing Hydra, and then -L, using the user.txt as our file. If you want to use an individual, so say like you just want to try to brute force the admin password, you can use lowercase-l and then admin. But since we have multiple users here that we are trying to figure out, we're going to use uppercase L and then input a file. Again, if you look up here, it tells you about this. So if, say, you have a list of users and you just want to try to crack into one specific user, you can use lowercase l, put in the specific user, and then put in your dictionary for passwords. Or vice versa, if you have a password that you have, for some reason, somehow you got access to the password hash, and were able to crack the password hash, and you had a bunch of like you had a password that you knew but you weren't sure who it went to, you can use lowercase p and just put a single password in. But since we don't know either, we are going to take user.text and then -uppercase p again with the website.text, and then we are going to use -o to save the output to logs.text, and we're going to do that against our web server, and 153, and then over SSH. So again, this is -L users is a text, so uppercase L is a text file, or just a file of usernames. If you want an individual user, you can use lowercase. Uppercase P is for passwords, and again, single password, you can use lowercase p. -O to save your logs, and then your target machine, and what you want to attack, like what port you want to attack. So we're going to let this run and see what it comes back with. I will cut ahead here because this may take a minute. Alright, and we're back. So I cheated a little bit. I know exactly what the passwords are that we're going to be looking at, so to save some time, because if we go up here and look, this would have taken, scroll up. So we would have 3,845 login attempts at roughly 259 tries per minute. So that would have taken me about 20 minutes or 14 minutes. Yeah, 14 minutes to do. So I used a little bit shorter of a dictionary, knowing what the passwords are. So I guess just might as well bring up the point. So as it is testing, it will show you, if I can find where I just was. So if you look up here, so how many tries it's doing a minute, how many tries total you've gotten, and how how long you've been running. And then you have how many are left and how long it thinks it's going to be taking to do that. So as you can see, after running it, we get back these two login credentials, where we have Charles Clinton with the password of wilderness and David Williams with the password of packaging. So let's go ahead and SSH into a system and see what we can find out. Alright, and then password of wilderness, and voila, we're in the system. So we're in. So now what? Well, let's see where we are, see what we have access to. Well, this guy's got no files. What directory are we in? Okay, we're in his, what we would assume is his directory. Does he have permissions to change to, I don't know, Etsy password? Let's see. Look at that. We can move to the Etsy folder. Let's see. Can we view password? Oh. Hey, look at that. We can. So let's see what all the users are on this system. So scroll all the way up here. Obviously root, your daemon, bin, sysgames, blah blah. These are all default Linux, default Linux, default Linux, default Linux. Everything's default Linux until, hey, what's this? There's a user named Sally. So we can just open up our users and add the name Sally to the list, because that's another user. And look at that, there's also Fred, Ginger, and Sam. So Fred, Sally, Ginger, and Sam. And now also, we're going to create, while we're here, just bring up another terminal. And we're going to create another text file called logins, where we're going to keep track of the people that we've cracked. So we know Charles Clinton, and his password is wilderness. And then we also know David, yes, Williams. His password is packaging. So once we do that, we can then come back to our original file and go ahead and remove these two because we already know what their passwords are, so there's no need to keep trying to, again, run commands to try and figure out. Now, be really nice is if this guy has sudo permissions, but unfortunately, if he has admin privileges, we can look at shadow. So if you're looking at password and you see these X's, so the second, your first character or your first field is names or your usernames, your second field is the password. If it's an X, it means that it's being saved in Etsy shadow, which is just the hash insulted version of the password. Unfortunately, we don't have permission. So that's kind of a dead end, which means we just simply, there are exploits we could run, but we aren't going to be covering that in this video, so we will just end the connection. We can connect with David Williams real quick. And see what he has. Oh, he has some files. Can we open them? Or, well, let's see what they are. Are they files? Oh, no, we can't even open them. Yeah. So, we can't even... Or, wrong command. Oh. We can read them, so... Cool, we got some dank memes and some mank deems, you know, because we're hip with the kids here. Alright, so after doing that, go ahead and end your connection, and it's kind of just another case of rinse and repeat. So I'm going to go back to Hydra, pull up this command, and just run it again. I would recommend after your first run, if you gain new users, rerun with your original dictionary. So website.txt. If this comes back with anything new, just save the passwords at this point. You know all the users in the system. Logging in with them really isn't going to do anything. You're just sort of saving passwords at this point. If you don't crack all of the users' passwords or brute force all the users' passwords, just go ahead and change your dictionary. There's a ton of, you can just Google password lists, and this first GitHub, as you can see, been to quite a bit, has a lot of really good password lists that I would say are useful for this type of stuff. So like, these are all 10 million passwords that have been cracked or used. So, that's gonna wrap it up. Let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Thanks, and have a great day, guys.